Shawn, how are you?
I'm very well, all things considered.
Seriously. I hope that you're staying safe and
Going quarantine crazy a bit.
yeah, where are you specifically?
I'm in Winnipeg, Manitoba, where we currently have a code red lockdown.
Oh my God, what does that mean?
Well, it just means that everything's closed up except for I think the schools might still or are probably still open, but all non-essential stuff is closed down for at least the next month.
Eesh. Well, please just stay safe, man. So,
Yeah, trying my best.
yeah, it's kind of the same. I'm down in Southern California. It's kind of the same for me.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, yes.
yeah, it's pretty much the same. Um, but first off, Hunter x Hunter, that was a damn good piece of work.
Well,
Uh,
thank you very
I
much.
really,
I
I
appreciate
really
it.
liked that. What inspired the story? How did this come about?
There were quite a bit of inspirations for the script. The script itself is like 13 years old. It was written back in 2007, and I think the core of the idea was pretty much written on a layover from a film festival. I was at a genre film festival in Belgium at at the time in 2007 with my first movie, Nobody, and we got laid over in Germany and wound up taking a bus to a resort through a very creepy forest with a bunch of mist hanging through it. So, um, out of boredom, that image I think wound up sticking to a bunch of disparate ideas that I'd had before, and by the time I'd landed back down in Winnipeg, I had kind of the spine for a movie that or for a story that underwent a lot of changes in the 13 years. There were tons of heartbreaks and getting a green light and having that green light go up in a puff of smoke several times, and it had been updated and rejigged to suit one budget or another, but essentially the heart of the movie and the main ideas there never changed. They just kind of wound up getting boiled down to what made the story unique in the genre of like procedurals or mysteries or
Hmm. You mentioned your first film, Nobody. I thought that this was your first feature. Am
no,
I?
I'd done two other features before then. Nobody was done in 2007,
Hmm.
and I got to make a film called Rose by Name, which came out as unfortunately as The Good Lie at the same year that another movie of that name that was far more popular than mine came out. So
Oh, that name game.
yeah.
Um,
And
well,
and now I've got another movie with a title that's apparently based on, or that also has the same title as an anime, a very popular anime series that is also probably going to sweep up any kind of reference to my title.
uh, well, I mean, I arose by any other name, I guess. I don't know.
Well, that was the point of the original title. They didn't think that that was sellable or original enough, so they changed it to the title of a movie that was coming out in the same province that the film was shot
Uh,
by a more famous director.
well, we're not going to name names, but
No, well, it was my fault too. I was a producer on that as well, and you know, I made some rookie decisions during those days, and hopefully made all the mistakes in time to shoot my third. So
well, I mean, but here we are now talking about Hunter x Hunter, which,
there you go.
you know, this was the original name, yeah?
Yes, it always was, and
See?
6 years into it, back in, I think I'd suddenly heard that there was a an anime or a manga that had the same title with an X in the middle or something like that, and by that time it was like the movie is Hunter x Hunter. I can't think of any other possible title that would be more appropriate to this movie.
Yeah, yeah. Now, as far as the locations, did you scout those yourself? How did you find
We
those?
scouted them ourselves for over the course of a couple of weeks. It was shot in three main places all around rural Manitoba, and one of them was very close to the border of Ontario. And that was in the Canadian Shield, where there's tons of ridges and beautiful vistas and waterfalls and things like that. But it's also super treacherous to get there. And in bad weather, it makes the supply lines that much more difficult, and slogging through mud and stuff like that. And so, you know, we made a movie that where one of the characters was the wilderness, and it was meant to play up how harsh and inhospitable it was. And so we had to go to those places where it was just as harsh and inhospitable to get that kind of look. And so we put our cast and crew through hell, and they performed magnificently.
That's that.
Um,
How did you assemble the cast for this? Because they seem to be born into the role. They were really realistic, real.
It's awesome. Yeah, the four leads. Summer is the only one who was a local actor here, and casting her was a total no-brainer. And you know, she was, or her character was rewritten to suit her gender and age. It had originally, for the first 12 years of the script, it had been a boy, and then I saw Summer's audition. It was like, there's no other choice that I can make, so it needs a rewrite. But Camille and Devin and Nick were all super into the movie, and I think it shows in their performances, their dedication to the roles, despite the difficulties and things like that, or possibly using those difficulties for their character development. They jumped in with both feet, and really the movie couldn't have been done without that dedication from those actors.
Yeah, Summer was phenomenal, and it's after you say that, I'm like, how could it be any other way?
That's it. She
You
was
know.
also in the Chucky remake recently, so she's becoming a real
Oh,
prince
she was.
for her.
I guess I
Yeah.
have to do my research, but yeah.
No, she, she's done quite a bit of horror for such a young age.
Well, that's a good kid. That's all I have to say.
Truly is. She's an awesome girl too.
Were there any scenes that were particularly difficult to shoot in the film?
Yeah, there were, you know, all of it. None of it was particularly easy, but the ending, without giving it away, was probably the biggest challenge out of all of them. That, and dealing with a real wolf, that was a huge challenge, because you can't really. We wanted to get a 100% wolf, not even, you know, 5% wolf dog. And if you get a wolf that's 5% wolf dog, you can train them to do stuff. If it's pure wolf, you can just convince them that they'd rather do this than that. And it's up to them on whether or not they want to do it. They had, you know, 2 handlers on a chain with this thing, and whenever it wanted something, it would just drag these 2 handlers across
Oh my
the
God. So
to
that,
get like a metal thermos. And once it's touched the metal thermos, apparently it's hers now. Like, anything that it touches, you can't take back, or it gets really upset.
oh my God.
Yeah, her name was Nisa. She was magnificent. Her head was the size of my torso. She was really a beautiful beast to be around.
Wow. So was that a live shot? Well, not a live shot, but you know, was that no special effects when that scene next to the lake?
No, that's where the difficulty came in. Is we shot the scene first with the actors, and then we had to go to a different province, Alberta, where they had a wildlife sanctuary, and 2 real wolves, 2 black wolves, which are even, you know, it's even a rarer occasion. So we had to go down there and shoot it, and then kind of superimpose and
Yeah.
comp them in.
Yeah.
But the challenge was getting the wolf to go through its motions. We had to fake it out using a bunch of electrified fence that was never ever turned on. So you'd just go to the wolf and you'd point to the fence and you'd say hot, and the wolf would know that was electrified.
Wow.
Until it touched it and realized that it wasn't electrified, and then got to do whatever it wanted for 15 minutes as it got out, you know, and ran around the entire pen, and in fact came after me, and I didn't know what to do, so I just crouched down and tried to hug it, and it jumped. It just it came so fast. It bounded right in front of me and then just bounded right to right beside me and attacked like a metal lunchbox.
Oh
And
my
just
God.
again, that lunchbox was hers after that.
Okay,
Uh,
so they have a thing for metals then.
yeah, well, they have a thing for anything. To get her to do the really aggressive stuff, growling and things like that.
Yeah.
They had to get somebody that the wolf hated who worked at the wildlife sanctuary. It was a guy that she never liked and would never ever warm to. So this guy held like a sandwich board over his head with a giant bone, like a giant mini bone that was on this board, and they had to hold this wolf back as it wanted to get angry at this bone guy that she hated. And so that's how we got those kinds of reactions. So it was really, really fun working with her, and a true challenge in every way imaginable.
But definitely worth it because the shot pays off. So,
For sure. For sure.
you started, I mean, you started in props, set dressing, yeah, or
I actually started in screenwriting. I had my first screenplay option when I was still in school, and after that, I'd gotten into the local film industry because I really wanted to learn in the trenches and see how to make a movie from the bottom up so that when I got my opportunity, I would have both the resources and the crew that I knew, and also the knowledge base to draw from when I'm doing stuff. Because I've never directed a short film before I went straight into features.
awesome.
So
And well, what advice would you give other independent filmmakers that are struggling out there? What have you learned coming up?
well, I think this Hunter x Hunter is either a cautionary tale or an inspiration to those people, because it did take 13 years of very, very hard work. If I'd known how long it would take and the journey that it would take at the time that I was writing it, I'm not sure if I would have done it. And so it's almost better that I didn't know the road that was ahead of me. But just for that reason, the biggest advice, and it's not even really advice, it's just a fact, is that the project only stops when you stop. And like there was any time during that point in the 13 years when I would have lost faith in the project and not pushed it with everything that I had, and I never would be here today talking with you. It would have been just that easy. That it just straight up wouldn't have been made if I would have hung it up.
It would have burnt off into the ether. It would have.
That's it. It would have sat with the rest of my unproduced screenplays. So the fact that I held on until it happened is something that, like I was saying, maybe that's not advice, because if your script isn't worth doing, objectively speaking, and your passion may be a little misplaced or too personal to be applicable in the outside world, then sometimes it's not worth holding out for 13 years. You always have to kind of weigh that out of like, do I love this story enough to keep going? And if you do, then it's not even a decision. It's something that you wake up every day and you can't help but do.
So determination and reality checks and self checks every so often, just to make sure you believe in what you're doing.
That's it. And the ability to be, especially when you're starting out, the ability to be malleable with your project and still retain the thing that you love the most about that story. Because when you're dealing with low budgets and things like that, there's always kinds of sacrifices that you'll have to make. And like I said, the script went through a bunch of revisions to suit its budget. And the challenge there was retaining the things that I loved about the story that made me want to write the story, while still shuffling around other things. And so that might be the biggest piece of true advice that I would have is to try to be as flexible and adaptive and able to react to the moment by moment while still preserving your vision.
Wonderful. Yeah. But again, I would say it was worth it. Hunter x Hunter was a lot of fun. But now we have a lightning round. So ready? Okay. Favorite horror movie?
The Dutch Vanishing.
Yes, that one's a good one. Okay, name a movie starting with the letter D.
Dangerous Liaisons.
Favorite Halloween candy?
Snack-sized chocolate bars. Fun-sized chocolate bars, I'm sorry. Fun size.
Okay. Okay. One person you want to work with in the future?
Um, Darius, what's his name? The DOP? Darius. That makes me sound stupid because I can't pronounce his last name. But yeah, I'd love to work with that dude.
With Darius, what's his chops? Okay. If you had one final question, if you had to live in that cabin for 1 year and could only take one modern device with you, what would it be? Laptop, phone, or television?
It would be a laptop for sure.
Cool. Okay. You know what? You won.
What
You
did I win?
won.
I win.
uh, yeah.
That's a sweet
Hey,
T-shirt that you got on. Can I have that?
absolutely. I'll send you one. Give me the info and I'll send it. Uh, so yeah, again, thank you so much for this, and I really wish you all the best on this film. It's a solid piece and looks great, and yeah, I loved it. So
It was a great pleasure to speak with you, Norman. I'm glad you liked the film.